My dad was sick for a long time. He had this disease called SPS, and then he got lung cancer. It was hard to deal with both. The lung cancer is what took him out. I was angry. My dad was suffering so much already. He wanted to go. I kept asking about how much time or what they give you or whatever, and he's like, well, my doctor told me not to buy any green bananas or what.
Is that a rule of thumb?
They're not going to be ripe in time,
That one went over my head. Thank you again for being here. We got a different conversation maybe than what you normally talk about.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I know your podcast covers comedy and some real shit as well, so it's not too far off the cuff. But I don't know how often you talk about that.
This is the only thing I usually talk about is my dead dad. Every podcast. Yeah. What if I just went on everyone's podcast? It's just a comedy podcast. I go, hold on for a second. Let me talk about my dead dad. It's my thing.
I mean, I'm not going to judge you, man, but this is what we're here for today.
Yeah.
So, tell me about your dad in regards to what happened and where it starts. Besides, like, you don't have to go like I was born, but
yeah. Well, like my dad's death, or just in general about my dad.
Sorry, I mean, whatever you're comfortable with, but I want to learn about what happened with your dad, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah. Well, my dad was sick for a long time. He had this disease called SPS, and basically nobody knew about it, but Celine Dion right now currently has SPS, and now it's kind of getting some eyes to it. 1 in a million people have SPS. It's a stiff person syndrome. It's like a neurological disease where your muscles contract and you're in severe pain, and eventually it could like literally break your bones and distort your body. But my dad was a doctor, and he couldn't figure out what was wrong with him for a long time. So he kept going to different doctors, couldn't figure out what was going on. Then they finally diagnosed him with that after years. And then, he was dealing with that, and then he got lung cancer, and then it was hard to deal with both. So he let the lung cancer is what took him out. But yeah, so it was a long process of him being ill, and then lung cancer came on, and it was a quick, once he got it, it was quick how it took him out. It was within, I don't know, maybe 6 months, but
there's no correlation between the two. That's just it's one after the other.
They don't know. They don't know. Actually, I thought that they said that there was some correlation, but I'm not sure. I mean, he did smoke for years, so he could have got the lung cancer just from the smoking or whatever, and they could be totally separate. But yeah, when he got the SPS, but there was another weird thing that happened because he was using a CPAP machine.
What's that?
CPAP, like to help you sleep.
Oh, okay, I got it. Yeah.
For sleep apnea, and the SPS. You don't necessarily you don't have to die from it. Like, it's just a painful thing that you have to deal with. And when he got lung cancer, even though he smoked, when he got SPS, he stopped really smoking as much, and he was on this sleep apnea machine, and that sleep apnea machine actually had a huge lawsuit because a lot of people got lung cancer from it.
No shit.
So we almost consider like going after him because, even though my dad was struggling with the SPS, he might have, still been around. So yeah, I talked to a lawyer just to talk about it, and I don't know. We never really pursued it, but could have been the sleep apnea machine that got him like lung cancer faster,
And that's a weird place to be in after you lose someone, knowing the cause might have been something like that.
Yeah.
How long after when he passed did you learn that information? Was it during it? Or?
Well, anybody that had that sleep apnea machine, since there was a class action lawsuit, got a letter in the mail. So there was a letter in the mail that says you can pursue a legal action because he got lung cancer, like a lot of people did from that machine. And you either go after them with a lawyer, and you really try to, might spend a lot of money and time trying to make it a case on individually, or you can be a part of the class action lawsuit where you report the information, and then, you can get some money back for, like everybody in this huge pool of class action lawsuit. But it was just, I was like, not something I felt like dealing with.
Yeah, I mean, what does that do in regards to your process of dealing with it, knowing that something else like that may have caused it?
Yeah, obviously it was, it was frustrating. I was angry. But you know, my dad was suffering so much already. He wanted to go, you know, he didn't really, he wasn't, he was in a weird place. He was very, lonely and was in a lot of pain. So he didn't really want to, you know, he didn't care. I think, you know, he was funny though. He used to make jokes about it because I kept asking about like how much time or what they give you or whatever. And he's like, well, my doctor told me not to buy any green bananas or what.
Is that a rule of thumb?
Don't buy any green bananas. Like, you know, they're not going to be ripe in time, you know?
That one went over my head. I was like, what health effects from green bananas am I missing?
He said, don't buy any green bananas. Like, how much time does he have? Don't buy any green bananas.
Damn.
You might not have the time. But he was my dad was funny, man. I mean, he really was. He was a ball buster. There's a million jokes about it. Like, even when he was dying, he was so funny. We just were back and forth with stuff.
Wait, so was there a point where he was told he was going to die and or he accepted it? Was there like a moment like, oh, he's not coming back from this?
Yeah.
How long before he died was that moment, give or take? Was it like right before?
We had months, you know, the cancer spread and all that stuff.
The reason I asked that,
he was in hospice, and then they give you like 5 days, or I mean, I was there. I flew out there, and it's like when they declined, and he was in hospice, and just. I think it was a week in hospice, maybe 5 days, where we just watched him die, and it was really tough. But
how long ago was this? How long has it been now?
It's been a year and couple months.
How do you feel today? Like, are you put any thought, or have you thought about, you know, how you were that first year or the first moments after you learned to where you are now?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure like everybody else, you know, it comes and goes. Think about him every day.
Yeah.
But, think about him every day, but it comes and goes. I mean, it's, you know, can be tough, and then just go about your life. But I mean, it's crazy, I guess.
I mean, you're still really feeling it today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel it all the time. Here's a fun, I mean, we have millions of stories, but we'll get to the jokes too, but so I go on a hike on Runyon Canyon, and there's like this rock that's pretty much towards the top of the mountain. And I don't know if it was a few months after he passed away. I go to this rock, I sit down, and this is where I'll talk to him, you know, maybe I'll pray, or I'll talk to him. And as I was talking to him, and I talk like in my head, like I don't speak out loud, you know, whatever. But there was nobody walking by me. I'm just sitting on this rock, and I have my earphones in for, you know, like my phone. Nothing. Music was playing, like some maybe relaxing music, just to talk. But as I'm sitting there, the music shuts off, and then Siri turns on and says, "You're the wind beneath my wings," and then turns my music back on.
What? Bette Midler just popped in?
It was the weirdest thing, dude. Nobody was around me. I wasn't talking. I'm literally just I was just you know, maybe talking in my head with my eyes closed, almost like I'm meditating. Yeah. And it shut the music off, and it said, "You're the wind beneath my wings," and turned back on. And it's fucking crazy. I mean, that's
amazing.
There's nothing to explain it. Every time I go to that rock, I'm like the happiest and saddest ever. But I'll go to that rock, and wind picks up. You know, hawks will fly over my head. There's just strange things that'll happen. But that's my place that I'll talk to my dad. I'll get up there. I go there every time. I sit down and I'll talk to him there. But it was very weird. Also, when he passed away, within hours of him passing, my sister has a baby monitor in her, in her kid's room. Mm-hmm. The baby monitor, nobody was around, but the baby monitor had caught, almost orbs.
Okay.
So you saw like, and it notifies her if there's movement in the room for the baby. Baby, I don't even know if the baby was in there. I think the baby was sleeping and wasn't moving. But the baby monitor went off, and it shows clips. It'll capture moments, and you see like this white orb come and then like stand next to the.
Oh man, that's giving me chills.
It was crazy.
How much does that help you? These experiences?
Yeah,
because I think it can go either way. You know, it's like you said, you're so happy and sad on the rock. You know what I mean?
It's probably super helpful. Like I do believe he's in a better place. I mean, he's not suffering, and whether you believe in God, which I do, but whether you believe in God or don't, energy doesn't die. So our souls will never die.
It's got to go somewhere.
It's physics. Like they can't disprove that. Like it's impossible to destroy energy. So wherever it goes.
Yeah, it's just that question. Like that, does the energy have that conscious ability to do things? You know what I mean? I believe in that. I relating to you, and I feel like I haven't had an experience like that, and I feel like I crave that. I crave those experiences even after 20 plus years of losing my dad. I took a walk the other day, and I was doing what you were doing. I think I was like a lunatic on Overland in Venice, talking to myself out loud. But I was trying to have a conversation with my dad. It was his birthday yesterday, so it was a little more nostalgic. But I was,
tough.
I was having that conversation. I crave that response. You know what I mean? And so like I'm just getting these voices or signs or whatnot. But I feel like I force that sometimes too much. It's nice to hear you have stories like that in order to, again, maybe it's a back and forth of sadness and happiness, but to have that feeling of he's still around is comforting, especially you said he was suffering. You know what I mean? To know that that's over, I feel like that's a weird relief from grief, if that makes sense. Because, okay, he's gone, it sucks. But to know he's not suffering, I feel like goes a long way.
Yeah, no, you don't want to see anybody suffer, but it does help that, felt like he's still around. So your dad's birthday was yesterday?
February 11th. So whenever this drops, this is the 12th. Yeah.
February. Are those days hard for you?
It's evolved. Again, you said you're a year and a half in.
Yeah.
So it's 2001 when he died. So it's been quite some time. So I feel like I've said this before, but there's anniversaries, there's dates that hits, I think, in so many capacities outside of loss, but especially with loss, the first Christmas, the first birthday.
Oh yeah.
It just hits different, and it's different for everyone, of course, but 20 plus years later, it's more reflection. Like I made a post yesterday, but I was missing out. I was like kind of grieving the future again of him not being here and beyond all these new memories, et cetera. You don't get those new memories, which sucks. All you have is to look back. And I was really wanting some father-son talk and just chop it up about what's going on in my life selfishly, and like, what would he tell me? I was thinking about that, and I had this moment of thinking, even that conversation, quote unquote, I'm having with him, I feel like I'm still learning from him. Granted, it came from 9/11, so I feel like I've always learned from that experience. But in my head, I just felt like I'm still learning. I still get lessons from him. It's not that physical one-on-one having a beer together, but I'm still learning from him, as weird as that sounds. And maybe I'm forcing the issue just to have some kind of explanation for it.
Yeah.
But I still feel like I've learned so much from that experience. Maybe it wasn't him sitting across from me telling me what to do, but even though I was craving lessons from my father, I feel like I'm still getting them. And it's not exactly like you said, but I feel like even though he's not here, like yesterday and today, even today, I felt him.
Yeah.
I didn't have an experience, but something felt different.
Wow.
Something felt different. Who knows? That's just my emotions playing with me, maybe. But I don't know. There's something that has felt different specifically today.
Man, I mean, obviously you've talked about your situation a million times, I'm sure. But, I don't know too much about it. But you found out, obviously you found out when the trade centers were hit. Mm-hmm. But it was like immediate. Did you hear from him or? No,
we didn't get any of that, any phone calls or anything. He was on the 105th floor, so it was above where the plane hit. Not sure what side of the building he was on, but we didn't know. It was just kind of assumption for a few days. It was like likelihood was unlikely. And after some time goes by, we're just, it's like he's not coming back. / we got some confirmation, some gruesome confirmation many times, however long later when they found some shit. But yeah, it was kind of a weird time, especially for my mom, my sisters, because they were really old enough to contemplate it. And I was 12, like an idiot. And it waiting and not knowing. And that's the interesting part about, okay, so like you lost your dad, I lost mine. Mine was out of nowhere. And then you lost your dad with some preparation, not much.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a unique difference in experience. And neither are better or worse than the other. It's just a totally different experience of that I can't relate to, is having that preparation for death. So it's like you have anticipatory grief, knowing he's going to pass. And I just wonder what that process was. So either when you figured it out or when you found out that your dad was not going to survive, what is that process for you? Do you remember that timeline of trying to handle it or having conversations with it?
Oh yeah. I mean, it came and went. It was just always like, when's he going to pass? Yeah, I don't know. I guess it would probably be, it's not easier to know that they're going, but
no,
but I don't know. I don't know if I would, I don't know if I would prefer the other way, because that's, at least I got to say some stuff to my dad. We had conversations and stuff.
Yeah, not even, not even preferring it, but that, like, once you found out, whether you remember the moment or not, it's okay. Just what was going through your mind? Like, what was that? What were the conversations, or what did you do to get through that? Was there anything?
When I found out he died, or when I found out
you knew he wasn't going to survive.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's almost like for a little while you're in denial. Like when you found out he was sick with lung cancer, we didn't know how long. Also, when you get cancer, sometimes people live for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it was real when he was in hospice. Like, they were like, major decline, you got to fly out here. He was in Ohio. So I flew out there, and he was in bed, and he just watched for 5 days. It was just like misery of watching him suffer. And it got to a point where like, Dad, we're just like, let's get out of here.
Is that pillow memory phone?
No, man.
That's real though. I get what you're saying.
No, because it was like watching him suffer was tough, and then also, I mean, you don't want him suffering like that. Yeah,
that's why to me that makes it hard. That experience, to see that. Again, I can't relate, but to me, that's I would never want to bring up the hierarchy of these experiences, but I was like that's worse.
Yeah, it's also it's not necessarily worse, but the anxiousness of like, when is it happening? When is that? It's almost like if a stand-up comedian, you know this, when you do comedy, before you get on stage, you might feel a little anxious. The moment you grab the microphone, you're like, all right, I got this, but you're just anxious. You're like waiting to get up and wait. But the longer you have to wait, that's like fucking, oh man, it's like, I just want to get up there. Just get me up there. Yeah. And, so it was almost one of those things where for 5 days, I'm just like anxiously waiting. And when's it going to happen? Is this the moment? Is this the moment? No, it's not it. Is this the moment? It was psychologically like fucking with you, for 5 days. But we had great moments. I talk about it on stage. We had so many jokes. He was a doctor that helped us other doctors start nursing homes and hospice facilities when he was young. Mm-hmm. There's this doctor, Ed Reese. So my dad helped him get that going. So when it came down to his, hospice bills or whatever, like this guy, like really helped out.
Wow.
Took care of a lot because my dad helped him out. So, and and we didn't have money. Like, he was, it's a long story, but he was a doctor and sold his practice and he invested in a business, but he was bankrupt for years. So we grew up with a lot of money and then lost it all. But yeah, so it was really great. It was really nice for Ed Reese to do that, to help out. But it was funny because when he was laying in hospice bed, like Ed came to see him, and then he's telling us like for the little words that he had, like, get my wallet, get my wallet. We're like, what? He's like, get my wallet. So we go get the wallet, and then we give him the wallet, and Ed's like, no, Ronnie, I don't want your money. Like, I don't want your money. And my dad goes, no, I want my money back. Like, on his deathbed, he was fucking with people. That was his thing.
That's incredible.
He was always funny. Even when I got there, he's like, as soon as I got there, which I flew in from LA to Ohio, you know, and this is the first few days he was still able to maybe talk a little bit, but he said, where's the emergency nurse button? And we're like, what's wrong? What's wrong? Get the emergency nurse button. And we're like, what's wrong, Dad? And he goes, we got to get Vince the fuck out of here. Like, he's just like,
that's gotta help, no?
Dude, he was so funny. I mean, yeah, and then I fucked with him too a little bit, you know, because even when my sister, these are all bits that I started making, but these are the heavier ones. So I try to tell these jokes on stage after he passed. After he passed, I had to headline a show in Ontario Improv like 3 weeks later, and I wasn't ready for it. And I had to do an hour, and I haven't even been doing comedy. I've been gone, but I don't get to headline often. So I was like, fuck, what do I do? You know, but then I was just, my dad would just want me to do it. You know, he wanted me to stop. He's like, just keep going.
Oh, yeah.
So I did it, and I started doing some of the jokes. They're a little too heavy. It was too much. Now it's a little bit easier. I found ways around doing it.
Heavy for you, not the audience.
Both. I mean, you know, if you talk about any heavy subject, it's also about like how you say it or what you say or whatever. But anyways, these were some of the early ones but these were also heavier moments because when he was in his deathbed, my sister was playing music for him, kind of like soothe the situation. And she had Pandora, but it plays commercials.
Yeah.
So I'm like, Dad, if you die in a commercial break, I swear to God. I'm like, come on, Dad, don't die to AutoZone. Come on, Temptations are coming up. I don't want him going, AutoZone.
That'd be the greatest product placement of all time.
Oh, man. Oh, so we were joking around. Yeah. I even made that joke to my sisters because my dad would because my sisters, I've always used humor as defense mechanism. The first moment I found out my dad has SPS, I didn't even know how serious it was. I thought, oh, my dad's going to die. I don't know when. But when he told me about it, he's just like, I don't know. Anyways, I broke down in tears. Like I fucking broke down. And this was years ago, not knowing the severity. And then my buddy was there and he didn't know what happened. So I'm just busted out crying. He's like, what's going on? What's happening? And after I got rid of that full cry, like I said to him, I was like, I ran out of bacon. But like the fact that I fucking broke down completely. I mean, we were crying, laughing because it's like nobody cries this hard, like,
bacon
over bacon.
Maybe vegan.
Eventually, he knew like something was wrong, and I told him, yeah, it was my dad. He's sick. But I just always used comedy as a defense mechanism.
Your dad he saw it on his deathbed. Yeah,
he did it. We did it.
I mean, I'm big on that personally. Like, I bring a lot of humor, not in a professional sense, obviously, but it's a big coping mechanism for me, whether it's a defense mechanism or a coping. I mean, I don't know what's better than laughter.
Nothing.
So I literally think laughter is the greatest thing in the world.
It is the best.
And that's why I respect what you do so much. And I'm curious in regards to now it's been a year and a half and, you know, you have been incorporating your experience with, you know, you on stage and stand up. Have you found, what are you finding with your dad's loss to your stand-up now? Is this part of your grief process? Is it healing for you? Or do you feel the necessity just to incorporate it in your stand-up? Like, how does your loss of your father relate to your stand-up career?
Yeah, I mean, I talk about it on stage, but I've always challenged myself in comedy to really try things. Early in my career, I've tried weird things like, first of all, I had a brain tumor when I was young. Not to make this about me, but
it's about you.
Well, yeah, but we'll make this about my dead dad. But
we can do a tag team. It's fine, whatever you want.
No. But I still had a brain tumor. That's why I got into comedy. Couldn't play sports. Did comedy as like a, you know, kind of like not like a bucket list, but like a thing to do while everyone played sports. So, and I talked about my brain tumor immediately on stage at 16.
Wow.
So I was always challenging myself to do different things. Years later, when I really started doing comedy, I tried like weird shit. Like I record the thoughts in my head in a microphone, and then I'd have people play it over the loudspeakers. maybe it was like if I'm doing a dating joke and we're at the drink, getting drinks, and she gets an appetizer and a meal, and I'm like, you hear over the thing like, fuck bitch, you had to get an appetizer. Like, but it came over the speakers. It didn't work. None of it was funny because the guy in the back, the timing was so off. So it was so awkward. And it was my first weekend opening at a big comedy club for Sebastian Maniscalco.
Oh, wow.
He was the first guy I opened for.
That's crazy.
And I remember doing it, and I bombed so hard. And then he's just like, fucking stop doing the thing. He's like, just do your comedy. And I was like, you're right. If I didn't have to do a full weekend, I might have never came back. I bombed so hard because the timing of it was off. And meanwhile, I was just trying things, and I go, I'm not wrong. I mean, look at Bo Burnham. He fucking crushed with that. Everyone's got their thing. I was just doing stuff, talked about my brain tumor. I was trying different shit. And then I went through a bad breakup, and that was heavy, and there's a whole thing there. Started dealing with, talking about that. I use comedy as not only an outlet to make people laugh, but to make people feel. So I remember years ago when I used to open for Dane, first arena, and I was scared. I was like nervous a little bit. I was like, what should I talk about the tumor stuff? It's a little heavy. It's not that funny yet, but at least people will reach out and go, thank you for sharing. And he's like, do you want people to remember you as the funny guy before, or do you want them to remember you as you? Because George Carlin would put you through a roller coaster of emotions. So, it's almost like you get to have some substance. It depends. Everyone's humor is different, but I have this outlet to be on stage in front of strangers. I get to make them feel. So I started talking about my dad right after it happened. It's a little too heavy. Now I have to find different ways to get into it. So I'll tell like a health joke that I do. I thought I had testicular cancer, and I don't, but I had a whole experience where I felt something, and I had to go to the doctors, and he's like, you're just fucking grabbing your nuts too hard or whatever. That's not the bit, but just for the sake of a laugh right now, I had to say that. But, I
was wondering where you're going. Was you feeling your nuts?
It was a 7-minute joke, but yeah, I was feeling a sperm tube, and I just have a long one, and it's a true story, but I make that a joke. So now an easy way to get into my dad jokes, rather than being like, lost my dad, it's tough, it's harder. I've been getting into it, telling this joke that's funny, that's a health joke.
Ease into it
and be like, fucking doctors are funny, man. And I go, my dad was a doctor. Dad passed away a year ago. It's obviously it's tough, but it's also tough. Now I got to pay for health insurance, or I just make jokes like it sucks because I used to go to him for a lot of things, and now I have to go to these regular doctors, and they're all fucking younger than me.
Yeah, it's weird.
With less experience, and they swear. And they're wearing fucking you're wearing a backwards hat, dude.
You're a doctor?
Yeah, I went to an eye.
Where the hell are you going for the doctor?
I went to an eye doctor. This is where the bit started, because I went to an eye doctor, and he was young, and he said, fucking bro.
What?
And he wasn't dressed for the bit. I make it funnier for him to have a backwards hat and shit like that. But, and I also just added a tag where I go, the doctor was, he was wearing scrubs, not medical scrubs, but a t-shirt from the show Scrubs.
That's nice.
and now I'm looking at Zach Braff's schnoz on a fucking t-shirt. Just silly stuff you can add to make a joke funny.
Of course.
But I did go to this young doctor, this eye doctor. He's just like, bro, you're good, man. Fuck it, And I'm like, it was so weird to me that I immediately go, oh, okay. This is where I can make it a bit, because now I go to these young doctors, and they're younger than me, and then I dial up a character where he's just like, fuck, I looked at your charts, bro. Fuck. And I'm like, what? He's like, I'm just fucking with you, dude. It's a fart, dude. Just fucking, whatever. You make but it's funny because that's a way to be like, my dad, I say my dad was a DO, he went to college for 14 years. He could do everything, deliver a baby, do surgery, knew medical charts, knew everything, taught anatomy eventually. And now I got to go to these doctors that only know, I'm a hand guy. I don't know shit about your feet, and then they're all young. And so I started easing into that I do that part in order for me to keep going with it. And then I have other experiences. I'll say my dad always used to say the phrase, I wish I was a fly on the wall because he lived in Ohio and he was sick and I was accomplishing these cool things in comedy. You know, maybe I was like, oh, I got to meet Adam Sandler or do a show, you know, whatever. And then he go, man, I wish I could be a fly on the wall. And then I go, and then my dad passed. And now I look at flies and I'm like, Dad?
Yeah.
Is that you? And if it is, can you stop shitting on my mashed potatoes? And then I keep going with it where I'm like, now I'm, you know, even if I'm having sex, and I'm like, get out of here, you pervert. You know?
That's hilarious. With all this stuff, I feel like it's, you know, my podcast, I'm trying to normalize it, but you're doing it. You're doing that. I think that when you're talking about relating, you know, evoking emotion as well as being funny, it's you talking about that makes it relatable. And I feel like that's such a ripple effect beyond comedy. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Maybe it's healing for you in many ways if you're coping with it that way. But again, if you're evoking emotion, making it relatable to people, it's like that's causing something different. And I think that goes back to real life. I think that's why I think humor is so important to trauma and going through some shit, let alone death, is because when you reveal that humor or that ideation of kind of bringing levity to a situation, it releases everyone else's tension around a serious topic. That's why I think humor is so powerful to me. When I joke, it kind of brings down the walls to the people around you, let alone yourself, to say it's okay.
Yeah.
Even if it's not okay. Like, I feel like laughter and humor brings that to these situations.
Oh, dude, I use it to help me. Like, obviously, if you start at the beginning of this podcast and you watch, and I'm all clammed up because I'm talking about, because I feel, and it is sad and it's hard to talk about. But the moment I could start making jokes, now it's lighter.
Exactly.
It's
I literally saw that in you too.
You watched it turn on, but I use it as a defense mechanism to maybe hide my feelings.
Yeah.
But I love making people laugh, and I think that's the best way to do it, man. That's my dad didn't want anybody sad. He would make jokes.
Literally on his deathbed.
Yeah. So, you know.
Do you think he accepted it, or was he just?
Yeah.
Yeah, he seems like he did.
Oh yeah. No, he wanted to go.
Yeah.
He was ready to go.
Yeah, because you mentioned he wanted to go. I just wonder, you know, if there was a true acceptance or he couldn't take, he can't take it. It's maybe a balancing act of both. But if he's cracking jokes like that, he seemed ready.
Oh, no, he was ready.
So did you feel a relief?
Did I?
Like when he did die, because was that the anxiousness. Like,
there was a sense of it, you know. Yes, here we go.
Here we go.
Let's go back to the jokes. No. Yeah, I mean, my dad was a piece of shit. I'm glad he was. And now
he's a fly.
Yeah, no. There was a sense of relief because I didn't want him to suffer.
Right.
But yeah, no. I mean, I loved my dad. It was tough, but yeah, a sense of relief so he wasn't suffering. Yeah. I mean,
what works for you outside of comedy? Is there anything in regards to your process of going through it? Like I did ask the question earlier in regards to how you were then to now, but let's reel that back into now. How are you today?
How am I today? Well, I had a little diarrhea this morning.
I was literally thinking, besides your constipation, how are you feeling?
Yeah. Always go to shit jokes, dude. It's perfect. Yeah. Every day's different. I used to call my dads a lot on Mondays. I don't know why, but it's just I did. Because weekends were busy, and then comes and goes. I'll watch. You watch something that makes you sad, or moments, or I go to the Rock. I sit on that rock and I start, talking to him.
Dwayne Johnson,
the Rock. Yeah, I ask him. I go, "Hey, man, did you lose anybody?" He goes, "No."
A bench press.
I'm not a bitch.
That's a special dude. I need a fucking rock. That rock. That damn rock. Runyon. Who would have thought?
That's weird. Yeah. I mean, I was like, Dad, you couldn't have picked a better hike.
Yeah. I mean, the view might be nice.
No. It's really cool. It's a really special place. I had another joke about it too, because I was just like peacefully talking to him when I go to that rock, and then like this gay couple like walked in front of me to take pictures and started talking about plowing each other or whatever the fuck. They were just talking about some seriously gay sex, and I was just like, "Is this you fucking with me, Dad?" Like, I'm like talking to him, and he's just like, "Ah, fuck yeah." And I'm like, I'm not supposed to talk. Dude, I swear to God, dude.
Like this comedic timing, he's still dishing it out to you.
I'm telling you, it's super funny, but
I love that.
Yeah, I deal with it.
So you good or what?
I'm good.
You think? Good. Day-to-day shit? Is it still day-to-day for you?
No, I some days are good. Some days I don't know. I feel like how I've always dealt with shit is maybe, what is it called? Suppress it, or what is it?
You suppress your feelings?
Yeah.
Oh, so you're putting shit down?
Yeah. At times I deal with shit. Even like if you've ever dealt with a breakup. Like,
yeah, last year.
Oh yeah, that's right. I think you mentioned that.
It was rough.
It was rough.
Uh-huh.
We don't have to get too much into that.
I mean, whatever. I mean, my audience might bore you to death, but the relationship shit is, I always talk about the grief of.
It is.
Losing, it's real.
It's grief. It's grief.
It's grief.
You had built a relationship with somebody and now they're gone.
Yeah. You
could choose to talk to them or not. I mean, but it can be hard, but a lot of times you don't. So it feels like grief. But, what was I saying? Yeah. So dealt with that. A relationship breakup, and it instead how I deal with it is not always healthy, but I will remove it from my life like it never existed.
Just push it away.
I will fucking delete every picture, every memory, everything. Like I will make sure it does not exist. It is a memory until I can deal with it.
But how do you deal with something if you're just pushing to the side?
It's probably not healthy, dude.
I know. That's why you're constipated.
Yeah, man. That's the opposite. I shit my pants.
All right. So you are letting it out.
Yeah. I let it out somehow. That's where I let it out.
But I always wonder about that because that comes up often about, okay, is it fully suppressing it or are you dealing with it? And sometimes I don't know.
I deal with it when I talk to him. But I do feel, and maybe comedy helps me deal with it.
Sure.
But yeah, no, I mean.
What about your family relationship in regards to talking? Is that something that comes up?
At times. My mom and my dad divorced, so I don't really talk to her about it. But my sisters, they took it, pretty hard too. But we talked about it. We had a good moment because my sisters are 41 or they're right around there. They have kids. They live in Pittsburgh, and then it's hard to just like every time I see them, I come back. The kids are there. My mom's there. There's friends. There's family. We never have like our alone time.
Yeah.
So at hospice, we were all sitting down, like me and my two sisters, eating dinner, and we were just like, we haven't had dinner, the three of us, in like fucking years. It's like 15 years, forever. Because I've lived in LA for almost 12 years now or something like that.
Yeah, same.
So going back, I'm never just alone with them. I'm with the kids. I'm with the husbands. I'm with my mom, my stepdad. There's always people. So we were just sitting there eating that dinner and having dinner like in the hospice, whatever, like community center or whatever they call it. Just having dinner together. And we're like, we've never had dinner, just three of us. It's really nice. Mm-hmm. So we try to do once a year. It's going to be our thing. It's only been a year, but every year we're going to at least try to have like dinner, just the three of us.
That's important. Something about sharing that space. Even if you don't talk about XYZ, I think with something like this, sharing space with someone, I think goes a long way. But that differs on the person. People want to talk, but if we're next to someone that's dealing with loss, sometimes just sharing that space, I think goes a long way. That's like a weird release in itself. Like if you were going through some shit, maybe you do want to talk about it, maybe you don't. I'm going to allow you to tell me what to do. But I think just being there next to someone, and especially if you're all aware of the feeling, like you guys are maybe sitting down thinking about your father, I feel like sometimes just being there amongst each other is healing in itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe not. Maybe it's worse. I don't know if how your relationship.
No. Yeah. No, we have a great relationship. Well, I don't think I've talked to them about it much.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that.
I check up on them, see how they're doing. Yeah, I mean, we talk a lot. It's just don't always talk about it, but.
Do you feel like you even want to or need to?
I mean, I should probably see how they're doing more. I mean, I'm supposed to be the stronger brother, but. Do
you have another brother or are you the only brother?
No, I did. No, I had a stepbrother. He passed away, but that's a whole different thing. But, yeah, no, I mean, no, I just feel like, yeah, I should just check up on them more about my dad. We still haven't. He got cremated. We were supposed to do the whole,
ceremony.
Had like
funeral.
Put the ashes out. Like he wanted us to spread his ashes in this neighbor's yard that he hated.
Imagine a tree grows there.
Just walk up to him. Fuck you, from my dad.
What are there's just trees in New York that smell like shit. You just like put my ashes on, he grows into that.
Yeah. Just to piss him up. No, he wants his ashes in like a lake and his old house and like that he grew up in, which my aunt has now. So it's not like we're going to some strangers like, can I spread my ashes? That's right. So we got to do that. But I mean, my sisters are great.
Do you feel like you need to let it out? You talked about suppression and shit. Like, do you, like, whether it's day to day or when it does come up, do you feel like you have stuff that you have suppressed and you feel it there, or you think, like, obviously shit comes up, you feel emotions, but do you think it has anything to do with suppression? Maybe
I suppress the sadness part, but I can talk about everything. Like, I wear my heart on my sleeve. I don't have fucking thoughts, dude. They come out of my mouth. Like, if I think something, you're going to hear it. 'Cause it just, it's
That's
like
good.
an Italian blah, blah, blah. It's verbal diarrhea. I should definitely not. I've gotten better at, like, 'cause my mom, she is undeniable. Like, she will not have a thought that stays in her head. It comes out of her mouth.
That's like my sister.
It's just incredible. My dad was the opposite. My dad was, grew up, he grew up, six kids, tough town, poor, went to school to be a doctor. He was different. He thought differently. He was very funny, but he thought differently, My mom had all this like wild personality. And my dad was, he could listen. So I like to call my dad because my dad could listen. I like to call my mom when I want to hear some reality television show or, but my dad was, but so I'm trying to find that healthy balance of like, I talk about it, I am a very sensitive person. Like I'm sad for a million reasons, not even just my dad.
Yeah. How do you tell the difference? Sometimes I can't tell the difference of what I'm sad about.
Oh yeah. It's fuck. I don't know, dude. It's all blending together.
That's the thing. Sometimes so much shit happens. Like, I feel this way because of my dad, or I feel that way because of the person that just cut me off. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It seems like your comedy career is doing great. It seems like you're doing exactly what you want to do, even despite this. So it's like you're doing something right. It's just a matter of managing all that. And again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a grief expert. I just have this podcast. But I think to me, allowing yourself to feel it, as opposed, like, there's a difference to me. There's pushing things aside maybe temporarily because you got to work, you got to do your things. I mean, you have to do that. You have to keep moving. But then there's like times of allowing yourself to feel it, which sounds corny as hell, but it's real. If you just allow yourself to feel shit and try to build it up and just literally go through the motions of that feeling, that's a release in itself to me.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means. What did I just say?
No, I think it's good. It's interesting because you do this all the time. So it's probably pretty cool for you to see the other end. You probably learned a lot about death and about people and how people cope with it and grieve. And you being on, have you been doing this for a year?
Longer than that. I've had 100, you're like, this is 140, 150 episodes.
You probably learned a lot.
You know what? Besides, I've learned, that's the amazing part, again, to talk to someone like you and anyone, it's just, I'm seeing a different lens. Besides learning a lot, it's just perspective of talking to another human, realizing we're all just human. Again, that's as cliche as that sounds. Like, we're, no matter what, you're a comedian, you have a person that's a hospice nurse, person that just does this or that and the other. It's like it's just a one-on-one conversation. I got to hear what you went through and realize, damn, it's just, we all got our shit. And it doesn't bring your story up or down. It's just like, it just reminds me that when I have my shit, just another reminder that everyone else has got their other shit and we're all doing our best. I think, for the most part. Maybe not all of us are. Sometimes I could do better, but it's just a reminder.
Me too, dude.
Yeah, and that's a whole nother game.
I shouldn't masturbate 3 times a week.
Well, hopefully don't do it
my
here.
Dad, yeah.
And thanks for listening to
I
this
gotta turn
episode.
my dad's photo around.
Yeah.
Dad, don't look at this. Shame.
You kill every fly while you're jerking off. What the fuck are you doing here? I don't know. It's just it's just a reminder that we're all going through some shit. And I think to hear from a different perspective, even if you talk to 10,000 other people that lost their father, it's all different.
Yeah.
A lot of similarities too, blended with that. And that's the cool part about relating. But there's a lot of stuff that we all go through different shit. And I think it just reminds me that we're not alone.
Yeah. A lot about who we become as people is how we're raised.
Right.
Our first 15 years of our childhood, of our life is just it's so crucial. It really makes us who we are.
Yeah.
I do believe that. So
yeah, I wish Bin Laden could have waited 4 more years.
Yeah, fuck, dude. You would have
made the cut.
Fuck, he wanted to fuck you up.
No, but I hear you going.
But no, I think, you know, so not everybody grows up with loving parents. I grew up with loving parents.
Right.
You know, I grew up in I had a very big family, and family was everything. And not everybody, I was fortunate to have a dad that cared about me.
Same. That's the crazy part. There's so many other people that you said don't have that. I don't know how I would have got through it without having what I have around me. So I'm going to be more blessed. Or
what's worse, like you have a dad that doesn't give a shit about you. I mean, like, yeah, but that's how we're all interesting people. It's, you know, because this is literally like a computer in our head, dude. It's got just taking in everything and then gets to tell us how we are going to operate, right? And it has so much to do with, you know, what we've been through, our past, how we manage it, you know, how we live in the present, what we plan for the future. I mean, you got to live in the present, but
it's hard. It's hard. It's so easy to go backwards and forward, and it's so easy to go backwards and forward, past and future, and it's so hard to stay here, which is like all. Again, like you think that wouldn't be that hard, but it is. There's so many distractions, and it's hard to kind of pull it in. It's really hard to pull it in. But you think an experience that you had, or whenever someone loses someone, that I think it helps get you present. But it's very easy to think about the future with fear, think about the past with regret. Mm-hmm. So it's like a double-edged sort of having an experience like you had, where does it make you more present? Are you working towards being more present, or does it make you more anxious? Like you've had a brain tumor. Like, you know what I mean? You've had other experiences in your life that relate to the sensitivity and the fragility of life. Mm-hmm. So it's clearly had to have had an impact on you with all those experiences and how you live your life. And that's the beauty of it. So it's for this experience of your dad, even though it's only been a year and a half, what if you had to find the positive from this, have you brought that to light?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like he's looking over me, which is nice. Not all the time, of course.
I hope not.
Yeah. Turn your eyes.
Like, thanks for the photo, but I can still see you.
Yeah. You know, when I'm in the mirror butt naked and I'm just slapping my wiener off my legs, having a moment with myself. This is for me, man. Stop looking.
That doesn't sound like repression. Sounds like the exact opposite.
Yeah. No, I don't know. Yeah. No, I found jokes in it. I feel like he's there watching me. It does put in perspective about afterlife, and you know, I do believe there is an afterlife, and I do believe in God, and it's different for me. I mean, I grew up Catholic and then Christian, and I don't the Catholic school, I don't follow all of that. You know, I don't follow it. You know, I stopped practicing all that. I have my beliefs, you know, but I do believe there's a better place, and I do believe he's with my uncle and my aunt, which are his brother and his sister. Mm-hmm. There's people up there, his parents. You know, I feel like he's with them.
It helps you in your process.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Here's my thing. Here's my philosophy on, let's say, atheism. Here's my philosophy. Let's just say, you know, no, you can't prove anything. You can't prove that there's, you know, some people might be able to say, well, I can prove there is, but let's just say, hypothetically, there is no way to prove whether there is or is not a heaven or a God or anything. But let's just say that 99% chance that it's not real. What if there's that 1% chance that it is real? Do you want to be wrong? Like, what if there is a 1% chance there is a God and there is a heaven and there is a hell, or there is all of that stuff? Let's just say there's a chance. And I call it the what if. What if it is real? do you want to be wrong, dude? I mean, because I don't really know if I want to be wrong. You know, like, what's it take for me to just believe in something, to have hope? It's also like structurally as a human being, I think we need something to have morals. Like, if you have nothing to guide your morals, then you can, it takes you down a dark path. Just, you got to believe in something, dude.
I love that.
I mean, it's like, I don't know why. It's such a hopeless life to believe there's nothing else.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, especially when it comes to religion and people that have different beliefs. I subscribe to what you just said, because it's like, you don't have to have the same beliefs about the contents or what happens after, if anything at all. But the structure and the idea of as long as the structure is good and it's moral, like you said, like, don't sleep with your neighbor's wife and don't kill, don't murder. It's like, oh, that sounds pretty good. It's like, that sounds like a pretty decent morality code to follow. So
depends on how shitty your neighbor was.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you throw your dad's ashes on their lawn, whatever you gotta do. Grow a shitty tree. It's I think that, like you said, the structures. That sounds like that's a fair deal. Live like that. And I actually, what you said relates to when I had Brian Count on the podcast. He quoted his friend and said, he doesn't know what happens after we die, but I like to live my life as if it does. And I think it correlates to what you were saying. Is like, if there's a 0.1% chance that, the sperm gets through the condom, it's like, that was a terrible analogy. Why did I just say that? And
I liked it.
You know what I mean? I think it makes sense in some weird way. But I think the idea is like, why not live in use that as a structure to live in a good life? And at the end of the day, regardless of what happens, like, don't you want to live a good life? Like, be good to each other and be happy in some capacity? I don't know. I kind of like that.
You have the capabilities of, believing in nothing and being, a good person. I mean, I'm just saying, for me, life is fucking weird. I mean, it's such a short temporary space. If you think about it and you think about how we are living on this earth of whatever this is, and there's just life. And I probably believe there's other life outside of our earth too, because there could be, even if you believed in the Bible, there could be that the Bible is, if you believed it to be a piece of history, it's a piece of history for the experience of this historical event of Earth that we've had. It could be like another book on a different planet that's like, hey, yo, Earth's coming around pretty soon and there's going to be Jesus. I mean, like, it could be but I just believe that, if you really sit down and think about how crazy everything is, I mean, it's unexplainable.
It's ridiculous. Like, literally, when I get confused in life and I just get XYZ, I just look up and I'm looking up like, what the fuck is that? Like, literally, it sounds so literal because it is. I'm literally looking up at the vastness of space. And as silly and as woo as that sounds, it's like, what is, I don't know. And I drive myself against a wall, getting in this weird feeling in my chest and my stomach and my temples of how absurd it is, that I think at the same time, as paranoid as it makes me, we just kept like, I don't know what any of this is. So while I'm here, I just want to be as good as possible, whatever that means. I don't even know what that means. I think it's just listening to other people, showing some compassion, trying to be nice and support other people. I don't know what else, and laugh in the middle of it, because I don't know what any of this is. And we have our beliefs, and people get so they bang their heads about what's right, what their beliefs are. But at the same time, like, we're all in this together.
Yeah.
As weird as that sounds. It's like, we're all in this together.
And death, which you've probably seen on this podcast a bunch of times,
Once or twice,
has seen, it alters the way you think about life. Because I've lost a lot of people. And I mean, grandparents, friends, relatives. Dad was probably hits home the most for me. Even my stepbrother, I mean, it was hard because I was the last person to see him. But also I didn't spend my whole life with him. I only had a few years because my mom got married to my stepdad. And even though it was really tough, I can't imagine the pain my stepdad dealt with. But, this, for me, it's the dad that hits home, which makes you think about life. And I had that experience personally because I didn't know if I was going to live when I was 14. So that's why my perception of life has always been different. I became very optimistic. I became very fearless. And I had different beliefs, and my spirit was different. And I mean,
why'd you make that choice? Because I love that choice in regards to being optimistic and fearless. But I feel like it's such a slippery slope where easily people can go the other way. Why do you think you chose
I was
that?
young. I also had some guidance. I had a loving family around me, and I was always funny and silly, and I used humor to help me. When I was in the hospital with my brain surgery, my head was all and I told everybody I looked like Sloth from the Goonies.
Oh, yeah.
So they'd wheel me around. I'd be like, "Hey, you guys," and in the hospital, just making everybody laugh to like ease it up.
Yeah, I love that.
I had those moments. Actually, it's all full circle, because when my dad, we were making jokes on deathbed. When I was in the ICU, my aunt was there, like also like wetting my lips with the thing.
The what?
And, like when you'll dip that like sponge in water and because you can't drink.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So that she was like wetting my lips with the thing. It was the first time I woke up out of my surgery, and everybody around me's crying, and it was very vague to see. It was like I was so distorted. But I just remember I was crying. I was just like, "Are you guys gonna cry or give me a kiss?" Or, like
yeah,
something like that to just make everybody laugh.
Yeah, you help everyone else. You're helping everyone else there, let alone yourself.
Yeah,
that's a wild place to be. Not a lot of people can do that.
Yeah, but I just think that it's a perspective. It's a perspective thing. A lot of people go about this life not thinking about what's next, or don't see death close to them. Mm. A lot of people. Everyone's sad. I believe everyone carries sadness. I think it's a real thing. I think depression is a real thing. I think I have depression because of, I think brain trauma actually chemically imbalances something in your brain that makes you depressed differently. But I do believe everybody struggles with life. The older you get, the harder it gets. You lose people. Just responsibilities, dreams are crushed. Health, just so many things. The realities of life. Finances, things, it's just so much stuff about life is so hard to deal with.
Yeah.
And then you can carry anger and sadness. Fucking everybody thinks about killing themselves. A lot of people won't, which you shouldn't. I'm just saying, like, disclaimer. But I feel like life is very sad, but it is about really tapping into here. And I do think you cannot find happiness. Happiness is not something you will ever achieve. You can be happy. You can have moments where you're happy. You can go about life. I have days where I am happy and I have days where I'm sad. But you get to make that choice also, whether, which direction you want to take. The happy path can be harder, trying to have a happy day, even though when you're sad. But yeah, I think I think that it is really just important to find a source of happiness and many things, like, whether it's family, religion, career, friends, fitness, whatever it is, like
a rock
or the rock.
You got to find a rock or the rock.
Definitely a rock.
Well, there's like a beautiful analogy what you're saying. 'Cause you found a rock, but like we need to find our rock.
Yeah.
Whatever that may be, whatever your rock is, I think, it's that. I think some people have a hard time finding that. And I understand that because you have different dynamics, different upbringings, like you said, different love in our life or lack of love. And it's hard to find that rock, but sometimes I think we're looking too hard for a rock. We're putting too much pressure on what our rock is. Is it a podcast? Is it doing stand-up? Is this grandiose thing? Or sometimes the rock is just a rock. It's, it's something little in our life, the way we live our life, the way we hold our relationships, the way we do our job, regardless of what you're doing. And it's like, I think it's just the way we coast through this life, the ups and downs that you mentioned. Life is not consistent with the remotes, up or down. I think it's like that, but it's about finding that line in between both of them. And I think trying to find peace in the chaos or contentment, maybe it's not happiness all the time, but it's just finding that moderation, whatever that means.
Yeah.
You gotta find that kind of like, it's a Zen place, I guess, but it's hard to be in that Zen place amongst the ups and downs of life. I think there is a sweet spot there, and it's kind of like not happy, not sad. It's just like right in the middle.
Present. It's it is. Well, you got to be present, and finding a place of reality. It's being aware. Oh, it's okay to be sad, or it's okay to, things are going to happen that are tough. Oh, things are going to be good. And I think it's one of those things too, where you have to find happiness in everything. Like, you can't, if you put all your happiness into one relationship and then that person dumps you, you're fucked. It's like, if you put all your happiness into a job and you live and breathe and die by that, my career, and then you lose that job, you're fucked.
Yeah.
You cannot place, your happiness and one thing. You have to put it everywhere. You have to find different things to,
Yeah, you got to put your happiness everywhere. I love that. You just got to spread it out.
You got to love everything.
It's like diversifying your stock portfolio. You can't really put your eggs in one basket. I mean, some people put their eggs in one basket because they're just passionate about something. But at the same time, it's like you're putting all your eggs in your bed. Your comedy career is obviously a big part of your life. But
I can't put everything.
But you're still balanced. You're still balanced the rest of your life. Understanding that's huge.
I know you don't have too much time. You probably got.
Yeah, we'll wrap it up in a second.
But I have a few things that I've told before, but I feel like I feel like it's helpful. So here's a few things. One, there's a book here. There's two books. One is A Beginner's Mind, and the concept is believing you're doing it for the first time. Like after you do comedy for so long, like the glitz and glamour of it goes away. But if you could just treat your mind and tell it, let's act like this is the first fucking time. Trick your mind. Make it exciting again. Just have a beginner's mind for everything. And I say that because here's an example. And I've said this and I stand by this. People ask like why celebrities are like fucking famous people are so sad. You think they have everything. They have money, they have fame, they have, whatever. You're married, you have kids. They are so sad. And the reason that they are sad is because we're always looking. Once you get something, it's never good enough.
Yeah.
So the example that I have is, let's just say you're a diehard Lakers fan, and whatever sports team it is, it could be, let's just say as an example, and you're just, as a kid, it's your dream. I just want to go to the game. I want to sit in this game. And then you go to the game, and you're up in the nosebleeds, but you're like, oh, this is amazing. Oh man, it'd be so cool to sit low. One day it would be so cool to sit lower. Then you finally get to sit in section 200 and you're like, oh my God, this is so fucking amazing. Like, what would it be like to be like in a box? And then you're in a box somehow at your fucking work event. And you're like, holy shit, I'm in a box at the Lakers game. How cool would it be to be on the floor? And then you finally get to the floor and you're like, holy fuck, I want to own the team or something. Like put me in, coach, or whatever. You're like, at some point, and then eventually somebody's like, hey man, I'm going to the game. You want to go? And you're like, he's like, where are we sitting? What do you mean, where are we sitting? We're like 200. We were like, or without even asking where we sitting, you go, I'm a little tired today, or I don't know. But it was your fucking life dream to go, man, I just really want to go to that game. How exciting was it to be at that game too? Right. It was so fucking exciting. But eventually you get a little bit more. Even when I got a better apartment, I go, financially, it'd probably be smarter to go when I wasn't working and COVID happened, like, it would have been smarter to go somewhere more affordable and save money. But for me, psychologically, I can't go fucking backwards. Right. I'm going to find a way to keep going forwards. I'm going to find a way to make these payments. I'm going to find a way. It's so hard to go backwards. Even in comedy, like I'm not above certain things, but then I go, man, I don't want to go do that gig. I don't want to do a fucking bowling alley, dude. I'm sorry. Yeah. I've been doing this forever. I'm exhausted. Meanwhile, new me was like, I get to go perform at a bowling alley. Like if you could almost have that mentality where you can go, oh, fuck, we did an arena at a place that I started comedy at bars. It's the Penguin Stadium. I came home and I did fucking Genghis Khan. I did a Chinese restaurant.
On Fairfax?
On Fairfax.
I've been at a show there.
A week later, I had a fucking blast. Yeah. But in my head, it's like, oh my God, like, you know what I'm saying? So if you could just kind of put it into a reasonable perspective of like, try to be grateful, and you always want the next best thing, but our minds, we always want more and we want more. It's like,
I love that for relationships in general. Like when you see someone, you know what I mean? Like if I see my best friend every day for the week, it's like, yeah, what's up? You give a clap, but it's like being excited to be in that presence of that person. That's something I've tried to adapt, and maybe because I'm very moody, so sometimes I don't do it the best. But I think that especially after losing someone, it's like what puts you in a better perspective to realize the importance of spending time with each other. Like I haven't seen you in forever, but it's like we get to do this. That's like it's incredible. We got to do like regardless when I see you next. It's like I don't know. It's just again it goes back to being grateful of everything you still kind of have. You don't have nothing, but I'm not going to get all Taoist on you. But it's like I love that idea of that beginner's mind. I haven't read that book. I'll check it out. But I think that builds a little bit. It's like new hope every time. Hope.
Yeah, perspective.
It's all perspective.
Everything's
fucking perspective. Oh my God. Speaking of perspective, how do people how many people? I don't even know where I was going with that. I'm saying I wanted to thank you for coming on here first of all, again, because I don't know how vocal you've been on everywhere else, other podcasts and your podcast, but
I haven't been.
I think maybe, and I thank you for talking about it. We started the episode with it. Just having these conversations, I think, are very important, and you're only a year and a half in the shit, so it seems like you're doing great. I don't know if you're crying when the mic goes off, but
probably.
Yeah.
I mean, I was definitely holding back tears there for.
Well, I saw that. Like I haven't seen you in a while, and we obviously haven't spoke about this, but I feel like when you go to the humor, and then obviously it clearly helps. It helps me a little bit, but then when I come back to a certain place, I see it in you. I'm not clairvoyant or anything, but I just hope you're doing all right. And I know I asked you that question, but just keep going. I think everything you shared, it's like, make sure you're taking your own medicine. I hope you're doing all this stuff because it's like, I think what you said is great for everyone else to hear, but how many times do we express lessons and perspectives for other people? That's inspirational, but it's like, make sure you're doing that for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate it, man. It was definitely, it's tough to talk about in a more, realistic sense. Jokes are different, but just being conversational about it, definitely hard. But it was nice to do, and hopefully I helped some people. And you're fucking awesome. I'm proud of you for doing this.
I'm proud of you for being on it,
it's a great. You got a great thing, dude.
I appreciate it, man. It's like the show is nothing without you sitting across from me and the people I talk to. So it's on that side of the mic. But before we do get out of here, it's always the worst transition at the episode after what we talk about. I would love if people. I'm gonna put all your links and stuff in the bottom, but I don't know. It's up to you what you want to drop. I don't know if a show's coming up, but this should be out next week. But just in general, how do people find you, find your work, comedy, all you?
Yeah.
Podcast.
Yeah, I'm on all the social platforms. Vinny Fasline, Vinny Fasline, on all the Instagram, TikTok, blah, blah. I have a podcast called My+One. We have celebrity guests. They bring on a +1, and we don't talk about their careers. We talk about their relationships. And it's really nice. So we had Tiffany Haddish, she brought her sister, Seth Green brought his wife, and we have all different types of relationships. It's really cool. And I shot a TV taping that'll come out on a streaming platform this year with, in a couple months. I did a game show that'll come out, and I was a celebrity guest on it, which was
game
cool.
Show?
Yeah, celebrity guest with Caroline Ray.
Sick.
With Mario Lopez, Blank Slate. I did Talking Heads Discontinued. Ryan Reynolds production company shot that. That stuff's all coming out this year, so go watch all that shit. And fucking tell your friends to follow me so I could sell comedy tickets.
There you go, guys. Let's go wherever he's going. Just definitely go check him out. Obviously in LA, where the hell I think people in Australia apparently listen to the show. I don't know how that happened.
Oh, nice.
So if you're ever going to go to Australia, we got to get you there. So shout out to my Aussie friends.
My only fans are not nearly remote close to me. That's like when I did that Canada tour, and I was just like, the fuck? All my fans are in Canada. What am I doing?
I'll just keep rolling with it. But dude, I want to thank you again for being here. And again, if you want to find Vinny over here, I'm going to drop everything in the show notes. So just click the link below and blah, 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 blah. Thank you again for tuning in. And thank you, my man, for being here. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Dead Talks. Please do not forget to hit the subscribe button and also the notification bell. That'll give you updates as to when we post a new video, more episodes, and more content in general. We are streaming on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, and all that. And also find us on Instagram at Dead Talks Podcast or www.deadtalks.net. Thank you so much.